I woke up to the sound of my own screams echoing off the hotel room walls. But it wasn't a nightmare. It was the ringtone I'd assigned to him. The one that used to make my heart skip like a lovesick teenager. By the time I fumbled for my phone, the call had gone to voicemail, and the screen showed 3 missed ones from Jack, each timestamped at 4:17 a.m., right as the first light hit the Chicago skyline. That's when I knew our wedding was dead, because Jack Harlan, my FBI fiancé of 5 years, didn't make quiet calls unless he was burying a body or a secret. Turns out, it was both. And I'd been the shovel all along. The altar was set for 200 guests in that swanky loop ballroom, white lilies imported from some Dutch greenhouse. My veil monogrammed with our initials like we were royalty instead of 2 broke-ass agents scraping by on federal salaries. Mom had flown in from Milwaukee, Dad nursing his 3rd scotch in the lobby bar, whispering to her about how Jack was the real deal. Finally settling our girl down. I was 32. Nora Kane, special agent with the Bureau's cybercrimes unit, the woman who'd cracked the encryption on that Russian money laundering ring last year and got a slap on the back from the director himself. Jack was my rock. The counterterrorism hotshot who'd pulled me out of a hail of bullets in Detroit, his hand steady on my shoulder as we dragged that cartel mule into cuffs. We were the power couple, the ones colleagues joked about getting hitched in Quantico just to make the brass jealous.
But as I stared at that phone,
the voicemail icon blinking like a taunt, something twisted in my gut sharper than any gut check debrief. I hit play, and his voice came through low and clipped, the kind he used when flipping a suspect. Nora, it's me.
Don't do the ceremony.
Walk away. I've got 3 calls out, cleaners, handlers, and the one that matters. You know what this means.
Click.
No explanation. No, I love you. Just the hum of a burner phone disconnecting. The second message was to someone named Reyes, his old partner from the task force. She's clean, but the file's on her now. Make it stick. The third? A whisper to an unknown number. Tell the wife it's handled. No loose ends.
Wife. The word hit like a flashbang.
Jack had a wife, buried in some pre-bureau marriage he'd sworn was annulled after she ghosted him for a pharma exec in Boston. I believed him because I loved him. Because when he proposed on the observation deck of the Willis Tower, wind whipping our coats like we were in some damn rom-com, he looked at me like I was the only code he couldn't crack.
But now,
as I ripped the lace from my hair and stormed to the window overlooking Michigan Avenue, horns blaring below like the city sensed the storm, I realized the real hook. I'd taken the fall for him once, 3 years back, when that op in Philly went south. A dirty cop on our payroll got twitchy, fired wild into a crowd, and Jack covered it by pinning the loose intel on me. I ate the suspension, the psych eval, the whispers of Kane sloppy, all to protect his promotion. And he'd thank me with a diamond ring and promises of forever. I didn't cry. Crying was for rookies. Instead, I grabbed my service Glock from the nightstand, unloaded. Thank God. Because the last thing I needed was an accidental discharge on my wedding day, and bolted for the door. The hallway was a gauntlet of bridesmaids in emerald silk, giggling over mimosas. My best friend Lena shooting me a thumbs up before her eyes widened at my ghost-pale face. Nora? What the hell? I shoved past. Phone clutched like a grenade, dialing his number as I hit the fire stairs. Straight to voicemail. Jack. You son of a bitch. I hissed into the line, my voice bouncing off concrete like a threat. If you're running, I'm hunting. And when I find you, those 3 calls, they'll be your last. Down in the lobby, Chaos erupted like a bad stakeout. Mom's wail cut through the chatter. "Where's the groom? Nora. Honey. Is this some prank?" While Dad's face turned the color of his tie. Purple and strangled. Guests milled like confused cattle. The string quartet tuning up for a no-show. I spotted Jack's best man, Tommy Ruiz, nursing a coffee by the revolving doors. His tie askew, like he'd wrestled it on in the dark. Tommy was Jack's shadow, a wiry ex-Marine with tattoos snaking up his neck from tours in Fallujah. "Where is he?" I demanded, grabbing his arm hard enough to bruise. He flinched, eyes darting like he was casing the exit.
Nora.
"Listen. Don't," I snapped, my bureau training kicking in, reading the microtells, the averted gaze, the sweat beading despite the AC. Those calls. Who'd he reach out to at dawn? Cleaners mean feds sweeping a scene. Handlers? That sounds like CIA wet work. And the wife, Jesus.
Tommy.
Did you know? He swallowed, Adam's apple bobbing like a buoy in a squall. It wasn't like that. Save it. I released him. But not before slipping my hand into his pocket, palming his phone like I'd lifted a wallet in training drills. Old habits. As I stormed out into the drizzle-slick streets, I powered it on, the screen lighting up with texts from Jack. Burner ditched. Meet at the old spot. Trust no one. The old spot. Our first kiss under the bean in Millennium Park. Kitschy as hell but ours. But trust? That ship had sailed with his vows. Chicago swallowed me whole that morning. The L train rattling overhead as I weaved through joggers and dogwalkers, my gown trailing mud like a fallen queen. I ditched the heels in an alley, barefoot now, the cold pavement grounding me as I pieced it together. Jack wasn't just bailing, he was unraveling a thread that led back to me. That Philly op? It wasn't a rogue cop, it was Jack's side hustle. Skimming kickbacks from the very cartel we were busting. I'd signed off on the falsified report, thinking it was to protect an asset. But he'd used it to bury the money trail. And now, with the wedding spotlight on us, some internal affairs sniff had caught wind. Those 3 calls? Silencing witnesses, shredding files, and calling in a favor from his ex to alibi him out of town. By noon, I'd holed up in a dive bar off Division Street, the kind with peeling vinyl booths and a jukebox stuck on Springsteen. Lena found me there, sliding into the seat across from my untouched whiskey. "Talk," she said. Her cop eyes, Chicago PD. Vice Squad, boring in. Lena was my ride or die. The one who'd held my hair after tequila nights and patched my knee after a foot chase. I spilled it all. The voicemails. The wife. The betrayal that tasted like battery acid. He framed me once to save his ass. I finished. Voice raw. And now, he's doing it again. She leaned in. Voice a conspiratorial hiss. Then we flipped the script. You're FBI, I'm street. We track him.
Nora.
Make him pay.
Pay.
The word ignited something feral. A revenge bonfire I'd banked since the academy days, when instructors warned us about the line between justice and vendetta. But Jack had crossed it first, and hell if I wouldn't dance on the ashes. We started simple, pinging Tommy's phone, which led to a burner trace bouncing off towers in Pilsen. Jack was holed up in a safe house, one of those nondescript walk-ups the Bureau used for low-level snitches. I geared up in Lena's apartment, jeans, hoodie, my off-duty Beretta strapped low, feeling more like the vigilante from those pulp novels Dad devoured than the agent I'd become. This could end your career, Lena warned as we piled into her unmarked cruiser, wipers slapping against the relentless rain. Or mine. Screw careers, I muttered, checking the mag. He stole my life, but deep down, I knew it was more. Jack hadn't just betrayed me, he'd weaponized my loyalty, turned my love into a shield. And that secret I'd buried? It wasn't just the Philly cover-up. 2 years ago, during a joint op with ATF, Jack had botched a raid, greenlit a warrant on bad intel, got a civilian kid clipped in the crossfire. I was there, holding the boy's hand as paramedics zipped the bag, his blood warm on my cuffs. Jack begged me to lie in the report, say it was enemy fire, not friendly. I did, because I thought we were building something unbreakable. But unbreakable? It was brittle as cheap glass. The safe house loomed like a bad omen. A brick row house with blackout shades and a rusted fire escape. We parked 2 blocks out, Lena killing the engine as thunder grumbled overhead. "You sure about this?" she asked, hand on her door. I nodded, heart pounding a war drum. We slipped through the alley, shadows in the downpour, and I picked the back lock with a kit from my glove box, amateur hour, but effective. Inside, the air stank of takeout lo mein and desperation, paper strewn like confetti from hell. Jack was there, pacing the kitchenette, phone to his ear.
Yeah.
The files doctored. Kane takes the hit, Philly Redix. He froze when he saw me, the color draining from his face like ink in water. Nora? How? I leveled the Beretta, steady as a surgeon's hand. 3 calls.
Jack.
Explain. Lena flanked me, her piece drawn, the room shrinking to the barrel's black eye. He raised his hand slow, that charming grin flickering like a dying bulb, the one that had reeled me in at the Academy mixer. All dimples and dirty jokes. Baby, listen. It's not what you think. The wife's a ghost from college, she called in a panic. Said IA was digging. I had to. Bullshit. My voice cracked like thunder. You called her first. And Reyes? He's not cleaning your mess, he's pinning it on me. Again. The papers on the table caught my eye, my personnel file. Redacted reports from Philly. Even a grainy photo of that kid from the raid. His face blurred but unmistakable. Jack's eyes flicked to it. A tell as big as a billboard. You kept this?
To what?
Leverage me? He stepped closer, hands still up, voice dropping to that intimate timbre. I did it for us. The money from the skim, it was seed for after we quit. A cabin in the Smokies. No more badges. Just you and me. Lies. All of it. But wrapped in the velvet of our shared dreams. Lena shifted, uneasy.
Nora.
Cuff him. Call it in. But I hesitated, the gun wavering. Jack saw it, pounced like a shark.
See?
You still love me. Put it down, and we'll fix this. Together. His eyes, those hazel pools I drowned in, pleaded. And God help me. A part of me wanted the fairy tale. The white dress. The vows we'd rehearsed in whispers. But then I remembered the voicemails. The wife's voice in my head like a ghost. And the kid's blood on my hands.
No.
I chambered around, the click echoing final. You die here, or you confess. Your call. It was a bluff. I wasn't a killer, but the controversy burned. Was I avenging betrayal? Or becoming the monster he'd made? Jack lunged, not for the gun, but for the photo. stuffing it in his jacket. You think you're clean? That raid. You pulled the trigger that ricocheted. Liar. But doubt slithered in, cold as the rain seeping under the door. Lena barked. On the ground, and in the scuffle, Jack bolted for the fire escape, me hot on his heels. The chase spilled into the street, sirens wailing distant as fate's fanfare, my world narrowing to his fleeing silhouette. This wasn't justice, it was personal. A vendetta dressed in stars and stripes. And as I fired a warning shot into the air, crack, crack, the line blurred forever. The bullet's echo chased us through Pilsen like a devil's whisper, ricocheting off graffiti-tagged walls and startling a flock of pigeons into the slate-gray sky. Jack vaulted a dumpster, his Brooks Brothers suit from the wedding ripping at the seams, looking every bit the fallen Fed he was. I was right behind, lungs burning, the Beretta heavy in my grip, safety on now, because even in rage, training dies hard. Lena's shouts faded back at the safe house. She'd stayed to secure the scene, radioing for backup without my say-so. Smart girl.
Me?
I was off the reservation. A bride turned bounty hunter in a city that ate its own.
Jack.
Stop. You bastard. My voice cracked over the roar of a passing semi, tires hissing on wet asphalt. He didn't. Ducking into a taqueria's alley, the spice of chilies and cilantro hitting me like a slap. I followed, slipping on fryer grease, cursing as I caught myself on a chain-link fence. He was heading for the Pink Line station, elevated tracks snaking through the neighborhood like iron veins. If he hopped a train, he'd vanish into the sprawl, maybe surface in Gary or worse, across the border in some non-extradition hole. I holstered the gun, too risky in public, and sprinted harder, my bare feet raw against the grit. A vendor's cart blocked half the sidewalk, old man yelling in Spanish as I vaulted it, scattering tamales like confetti. Jack hit the stairs 2 at a time, badge flashing to Jimmy the turnstile.
Perks of the job.
I vaulted it clean, ignoring the shouts from commuters, my hoodie soaked through, clinging like guilt. The platform was a madhouse, hipsters with AirPods, day laborers nursing coffees, a busker strumming a battered guitar to Nirvana covers. Jack shoved through, elbowing a mom with a stroller, asshole move, and I closed the gap, grabbing his collar at the edge. We tumbled against the railing, the train's rumble vibrating up through the metal like an earthquake. Talk, I snarled, knee in his back, pinning him face down. His breath came in gasps, rain mixing with sweat on his cheek.
Nora, please.
It's bigger than us. Bigger? Like your wife? Or the kid you let me bury? I twisted his arm, feeling the pop of shoulder socket straining. He grunted, eyes wild, scanning for an out. The train screeched in, doors hissing open, disgorging a wave of bodies that knocked us apart. He rolled, sprang up, and we grappled amid the crush, fists, elbows, the intimate violence of lovers turned lethal. A punch landed on my jaw, stars bursting, but I countered with a knee to his gut, doubling him over. The calls.
Jack.
Who was the third? The one that matters. He coughed, clutching his side. The train doors beeping warning. My handler. CIA Black Ops. The skim? It funded ops they couldn't touch, ghost money for assets in Caracas. Lies layered on lies. But his eyes, damn them, held a flicker of truth. The kind that made you question your own sanity. You think I wanted this? IA's closing in because of you. Your damn hero complex. Poking that Russian ring. It led them to the books.
Me?
My work, the pieces slotted wrong, like a puzzle from hell. I'd cracked that crypto wallet to take down oligarchs funneling cash to extremists, not to unravel Jack's house of cards. But if he'd been dipping into the same pot. You used me, I whispered,
Horrified.
as the doors clamped shut behind stragglers, leaving us alone on the emptying platform. My clearance, my access. All for your side gig. He straightened, wincing, that grin ghosting back, charming.
Even now.
We were a team.
Nora.
You.
Me?
Against the machine. Remember Detroit? You took that bullet for me.
Grazed.
Barely a nick. But yeah, I'd played it up in stories over beers. Now, it felt like leverage. Another debt he collected. The next train's lights pierced the gloom. A silver serpent approaching. Come with me, he urged, edging toward the platform lip. We disappear. Mexico. Start over. No feds. No files. Temptation clawed. A siren's call. The life we dreamed, beaches.
Anonymity.
Washing the blood from our hands. But the wife's existence gnawed. A secret he'd choked down like bad coffee. Who's she? Jack, the real Mrs. Harlan. He flinched.
The tell again.
Ex. Like I said. College mistake. She surfaced last week, blackmailing me with old photos, us.
Post-raid.
Looking guilty as sin.
Us.
The kid. My stomach lurched. You told her? About the cover-up? He nodded. Desperate. To shut her up. Paid her off with skim money. But she flipped. Went to IA. The train braked hard. Wind whipping my hair like judgment. Doors opened, and in the chaos, he shoved me hard into the car, following to pin me against the pole. Commuters averted eyes. Chicago Rule 1. Mind your business. His hand clamped my wrist, breath hot on my neck. Last chance.
Nora.
Us or them. I headbutt him, nose crunching, blood spraying my cheek like accusation. He reeled, and I need free, tumbling out the doors as they closed, his howl cut off by the seal. The train lurched away, his face pressed to the glass, shock, betrayal, love, all blurred in the rain-streaked window. I collapsed on the platform, sirens closing and now, Lena's voice crackling over my stolen phone. Nora? Backup's en route. Where are you? Pilsen PD station was a fluorescent purgatory. The kind of place that smelled like stale coffee and regret. They separated us, me in interrogation with an ice pack on my jaw, Jack in holding, cuffed to a table under the glare of a one-way mirror. Lena pulled strings, her badge bridging the federal gap. But the feds were inbound, choppers thumping overhead like vultures. I gave my statement clipped, abandonment, assault, the works. Omitted the gun, tossed in a storm drain, and the revenge fire still smoldering. He framed me, I told the detective. A burly guy named Kowalski with a mustache like a broom. Check the files.
Philly.
The raid. Kowalski nodded slow, scribbling. Heard whispers. Harlan's got a rep, golden boy with shadows. Shadows. Understatement. As they led me out for vitals, I caught a glimpse through the mirror. Jack. Head bowed, whispering to his lawyer on a jail phone. The ex, or the handler. Paranoia itched, but worse was the doubt. Had I pushed too far? That shove on the platform, defensive, or attempted murder? Night fell heavy. The city a neon bruise as Lena drove me to her place in Logan Square. Bungalow charm hid the cop clutter, files stacked like Jenga, a fridge stocked with IPAs and leftover pierogies. Crash here, she said, tossing me sweats. Tomorrow, we lawyer up, but sleep was a joke. My mind replaying the chase. His pleas. The blood on my skin. Around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. Tommy's.
Still in my pocket.
Unknown number. Meet at the Bean. Midnight tomorrow.
Come alone. G.
A trap? Or olive branch? The controversy coiled. Go. And risk everything. Ignore. And let the system grind him without my say. I deleted it. But the seed rooted. Revenge wasn't cuffs and court. It was control. Taking back the narrative he'd scripted. Dawn brought the feds. A suit named Hargrove. Silver fox with a southern drawl. Briefing me in Lena's kitchen over black coffee. Harlan singing. Agent Kane. Partial. Says you were in on the skim. My mug shattered on the tile. Ceramic shards like my resolve.
What?
Claims joint ops. Shared accounts. That Russian bust? Your tip-off flushed his contacts. Lies. Amplified. But Hargrove's eyes were kind.
Pitying.
We'll sort it. Suspension pending review. Take leave.
Leave.
Code for sit tight while we dissect your life. Lena squeezed my shoulder, but I was already gone. Mind racing to the Bean, our spot. His lure. I went that night. Unarmed. Rain easing to mist as the park's lights haloed the sculpture. Tourists milled. Oblivious. Snapping selfies under the mirrored curve. Jack emerged from shadows. Civilian clothes hanging loose. A ghost of the groom. No wire, he asked. Hands out. I shook my head. Throat tight. Talk. He paced. Voice urgent. The wife's real.
Nora. Emily.
We never divorced. Technicality. Pre-bureau. She's the leak. Feeding IA to bury me for the kid's family. They sued. Quietly. And she cashed in. The kid. Again. You covered for me. But she knew. Blames you too.
Me?
The handholder. The liar? Rage surged. But so did pity for him. The boy.
Us.
Why the calls? Why run? To protect you. If I confess, it drags you down. The third call? To her. Told her to back off. Or I expose her take. He stepped close. Hand brushing mine, electric. Traitorous. Run with me. Tonight. The twist hit then. Soft as fog, sirens. Distant but closing. Lena? Back up? No. Jack's eyes widened. Not fear. Calculation. Go, he urged. But I saw it, the phone in his pocket. Buzzing silent. He'd set me up. Lured me to flip the trap. You bastard. I breathed. Backing away. This was the out. Make me the fugitive. He lunged. Not to grab, but to warn. Gunfire cracked from the trilene. Bullets pinging the Bean like deadly rain. His handler, silencing loose ends. Jack shoved me down, taking the hit shoulder. Blood blooming dark. Run, he roared. As shadows swarmed, feds shouting. Lena's voice cutting through. Nora, down. In the melee. I crawled, heart shattering. Betrayer or savior? The line dissolved as cuffs clicked on him. His eyes locking mine, love. Regret. A final lie? The bean gleamed under floodlights like a fallen star, now cordoned off with yellow tape fluttering in the wind off Lake Michigan. Paramedics swarmed Jack, staunching the shoulder wound with gauze that soaked through crimson, his face ashen but defiant as they loaded him onto the gurney. I stood at the perimeter, Lena's arm like an anchor around my waist, her whisper fierce. "You okay? Okay?" The word was a joke. My world inverted in a hail of 9mm truths. Feds in windbreakers barked orders. Hargrove striding over with a tablet, his drawl clipped now. "Agent Kane, we need your statement." Shots from the park, suspect down. Harlan hit. "You see the shooter?" I shook my head,
Numb.
replaying the blur, muzzle flash from the oaks. Jack's body jerking like a puppet cut loose.
He
saved me.
saved.
The word hung controversial. A Rorschach test for the soul. Had he lured me into ambush to trade my freedom for his? Or was it collateral in his war with shadows? The handler's ghost loomed. That third call a siren's dirge. They hauled me to a black SUV. The leather seats cold against my sweat-damp clothes. Hargrove sliding in opposite with a recorder whirring to life. "Walk me through it."
Nora.
From the wedding. I did. Halting at first, then spilling like a breached dam. The voicemails. The chase. The ex-wife specter. The skim that funded ghosts. Omitted nothing. Why bother? If Jack was flipping, I'd beat him to it. He said I wasn't on it. I finished. Voice steel. But check the logs. My access never touched those accounts. Hargrove nodded, tapping notes. His eyes appraising, not suspect, but survivor. "We will." Harlan's in surgery. He'll talk more under sodium thiopental, if we have to. Truth serum. Cold War relic. But effective for rats. Go home.
Agent.
Paid leave. We'll circle back.
Home.
The word echoed hollow my Gold Coast condo. Now a crime scene of shattered illusions. Jack's razor still by the sink. Lena drove. Silence thick as the fog rolling in. "What now?" she asked finally, pulling up to her bungalow. I stared at the dashboard, rain pattering like accusations.
Now?
I end it. End it. Vague as a threat. But she got it. The revenge I'd tasted bitter, now soured by his blood. "Don't go rogue, Nora." The system's slow, but it grinds. The system. Stars and stripes. Apple pie and due process. The American dream we'd both sworn to uphold. But Jack had twisted it, made it his noose, and mine by proxy. I crashed on her couch. Dreams fractured. The kid's face morphing to Jack's. The wife's shadow laughing from mirrors. Woke to coffee and CNN droning. Breaking news. FBI agent wounded in targeted attack. Suspect at large. No names yet. But the children screamed scandal. Days blurred into a haze of interviews and insomnia. IA grilled me in a sterile conference room downtown. Fluorescent buzz like angry bees. Flipping through my file like it was porn. "Philly op, your sign-off."
Kane.
"And the raid?" "Report says enemy fire. But ballistics." They trailed off, eyes probing for cracks. I held steady, voice even. Jack's play. I covered because I trusted him.
Trusted.
Past tense. A eulogy. Then the twist landed. Courtesy of an anonymous drop, a USB at my door. No postmark. Just a sticky note. Truth hurts.
E. Emily.
The wife. I plugged it in at Lena's. Heart hammering. Files unfolding like a digital autopsy. Bank records. Transfers from the skim to an offshore in her name. Not Jack's. Emails. Her to IA tip line. Agent Harlan and partner covered a civilian kill. Evidence attached. Photos. Us post-raid. Jack's arm around me. Guilt etched plain. But the kicker, a voicemail time-stamped pre-wedding. Emily's voice. Sultry and sharp. Jackie. Tell Nora the truth. Or I do. That kid? It was her bullet. Ricocheted off your bad call. She's the loose end. Her bullet.
Me?
The memory surged. Chaos in the warehouse. Shadows dancing in strobe panic. My shot clipping a beam. Had it deflected? Jack's frantic. It was them, as we dragged the wounded out. I believed. Buried it deep.
But now?
Doubt festered. Controversial as original sin. Had I killed the boy? Or just signed his death warrant? I confronted Jack in the hospital. ICU sterile and beeping. Tubes snaking like accusations. He was propped up. Bandage bulky. Eyes dull from morphine. Nora, he rasped. Hand twitching for mine. I yanked back. Emily sent proof. The kid, was it me? His gaze shuddered. Then cracked. Does it matter? We both pulled triggers that day. I let you think it was clean, because... Love.
Love.
The word weaponized again. Twisting the knife. You let me carry it. The guilt.
The lie.
And the skim? To pay her off. He nodded.
Weak.
She knew everything. Blackmailed us both. The calls? First to cleaners for the files. Second to Reyes to bury the money. Third to her, begging one last payout. Begging. The golden boy on his knees. Pity stirred. Unwanted. But so did fury. You abandoned me. On our wedding day. To save you, he whispered. If we married, spousal privilege, you'd be trapped in my mess.
Trapped.
Or bound. The room spun. Morality a Mobius strip. Was he villain or victim? Me avenger or accomplice? Nurses bustled in. Time up. But as I turned, he grabbed my wrist, weak, but insistent. End it, Nora. For us. End it.
Confession?
Or something darker. I walked out. The hallway a tunnel of white. Emerging into Chicago's bite. Wind off the lake like judgment. Lena waited in the lot. Engine idling. Well, he's broken, I said, sliding in. But so am I. We drove to Emily's, address from the USB. A sleek condo in Streeterville. Lake views mocking her avarice. No plan. Just impulse. The revenge engine redlining. She answered the buzzer in yoga pants and silk robe. Blonde waves tousled. Eyes widening at my face. Bruised jaw. Wild eyes. Agent Kane?
I.
Inside. I growled. Pushing past. Lena covering the door. The place screamed money. Marble counters. Abstract art screaming, I have taste and trauma. Emily backed to the island. Hands up. Look. The drop was to help. Jack's poison. I was trapped too. Trapped. I laughed.
Bitter.
You milked him. The kid's blood on all of us. But you turned it to gold. She paled, sinking to a stool. He told you? About the ricochet? Confirmation. Cold as steel. My shot. The guilt crashed, but I channeled it, controversial fire. Confess. To IA. Or I do. With your emails. Her laugh tinkled.
Sharp.
And drag yourself down? You're as dirty as him. True. The room thickened, tension coiling like a spring. Lena shifted, hand on hip. Clock's ticking. Lady. Emily's eyes darted, maze of motives. Then, soft. I loved him once. Still do. Maybe. That's why the blackmail, to force him home. Love. Again. The curse. She stood, pouring wine with trembling hands.
Fine.
I'll call Hargrove. But you walk away. From him. The bureau. Start over. Walk away. Echo of Jack's plea. I nodded. The decision seismic. Revenge not in ruin, but release. As sirens wailed distant her call, ours. We left her to the wolves. The city unfolding like a pardon. Weeks later, headlines screamed, FBI scandal rocks Chicago, agent couple in cover-up bust. Jack pled out. 20 years federal. Emily flipped for immunity, testifying to the skim and the kid.
Me?
Cleared, but scarred, resigned quietly. Trading badge for a PI shingle in Milwaukee. Closer to Mom's pierogies and Dad's stoic nods. Lena visited Sundays, beers on the porch, dissecting the what-ifs. You avenged it, she said once. Clinking bottles. Or forgave.
Both.
Neither. The twist? A letter from Jack. Prison postmark. 3 calls changed everything.
But you changed me.
Forgive? Jay, I burned it. Ashes scattering on the lake wind. But kept the ring, reminder, not relic. In the end, no one's hands were clean, his betrayal deep as Lake Michigan. My secrets buried like bodies. Her greed a mirror to our flaws. Justice? American as it gets, messy, divisive. A debate for barstools and late-night scrolls. Happy? Tragic? Pick your side.
Me?
I picked up, one bare foot after the other, the skyline fading small.